There, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Politics. Today, we are looking at continuing Book 8 of the Book 8, Book 7. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Book 7 of Aristotle's Politics, where we look at chapter 12 on the best regime. Still, continuation of this. So let's go turn to it. Since the multitude of citizens should be distributed in common messes, this is again common messes like common like places that the citizens will eat together and have resources together, right? And since walls should have guardhouses and towers at intervals in convenient places, these things clearly suggest setting up some of the common messes in those guardhouses. Okay, so therefore we're going to have this. We're going to have towers. We're going to have walls. We're going to have guardhouses, and therefore the messes should be tied to the guardhouses. Right, this idea. One might order these things then in this manner. For the building assigned to divine matters, right? The buildings assigned for divine matters and common messes for the most authoritative officials boards, it is fitting for them to be located together in the proper place. At least in the case where those temples that the law and the or some prophecy of the Delphic oracle does not require to be separate. So therefore, okay, what is this? Okay, most common messes. His idea is that the citizens are going to live together. They're going to have a shared life together. It's going to be. Remember that he said earlier that the citizen, they're only going to be the citizens. The citizens will be the armed element as well. Um, uh, um, um, who are not going to be citizens, who are not going to be participating in the regime. Well, the farmers are going to be serfs, and the merchants and workers are likewise either going to be serfs or aliens, or very little. Right? This idea that the commercial class is going to be only outside. It's going to be. We talk about the commercial class. There's going to be one at all. It's going to be tied to the poor, and they're going to be separated from the city. Right? They're not going to have a situation where there's going to be lots of sea trade or trade. The city is not going to be, that trade will be done, but only for the sake of the city. It's not for the city for the sake of trade, right? There's going to be a market in the city, as argued earlier, but it's going to be the market is only for the goods that the city needs, and you don't want the citizens engaged in market. So therefore, there will be non-citizens or slaves going to be engaged in doing the market, or maybe aliens or serfs, right? The farmers are not going to be workers. In other words, all the citizens have to have leisure in order to be able to uh, 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 have a political life. The argument is of this regime. So therefore, this regime is the idea is they're going to have going to follow the Spartan and Cretan model of having common messes, which is shared life together, some kind of sustenance. So this is idea. So therefore, they're going to have them separate. There's going to be most common messes for most people because of the need for tower walls and that they're going to have towers guarding the city at a certain place, and therefore they should have some common messes there for most. But for the people who are the authoritative office, the ruling offices, right, and to the divine matters, right, these messes should be together. In other words, the argument is, and that therefore that the mess for the uh, uh, authoritative official boards. Those are going to be on the boards of that rule the city. They will be common with the temples, with the temples. Except the only thing is when the Delph, in other words, at least the cases where temples that the laws and some prophecies did not require to be separate. So in other words, some temples have to be separate from each other. Like this idea that not the gods, the classical gods could sometimes were enemy. You wouldn't put a god that was an enemy of another god right next to each other, right? They'd be separated sometimes. So some gods, the Delphic oracles require that some temples be separated and not placed in the same place. But when there's no such prohibition, these temples can be together, and these temples could be also where the place where the messes for the ruling officials, the authoritative boards of the city, the ruling bodies, the ruling board of the city. This would be the sort of place whose position is adequate for making their virtue manifest, and at the same time better fortified in relation to the neighboring parts of the city. So therefore, now 64 about virtue manifest. This is the ten des etchen potent with Thomas this versus this one, less conspicuous to their position of virtue, right? Therefore, he's going to read it this way. This idea, they're going to make it manifest, where less conspicuous. I this either I'm going to suggest that he's okay. His translation is here. I kind of agree with it the way it does. In other words, the position makes their virtue manifest, not less conspicuous. I think he's right here. That you need to have these people's their virtue and their excellence made manifest, attention to the city. The people who are going to be the governing board, you want their virtue to be seen. That they're an example. That the rest of the city, the rest of the citizens will see them doing it, right? And at the same time better fortified in relation to the neighboring parts of the city. So therefore, this place, the center where the temples are going to be designed in a certain way that will support the overall layout and security of the city. Below this place, it is proper to institute a market for the sort of things they have in Thistle, the one they call the free market. In other words, the so-called free market. So below this place, it was not at the same plane. So this place should be in a higher point, right? Again, the higher point of the thing. It should be at a point of that shows their virtue, their supremacy, right? But below it should be a place what is the free market. This is one that is kept clean of wares, and where no workers or farmers or anyone else of this sort can enter unless summoned by officials. So this is this place market below where they are. This free market is only for the market of those who are free citizens, and uh, 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 workers. What does he say here? No worker. In other words, there's no wares. It's not a market for selling. It's a market where they can come and meet, right, and associate. But it's not for wares. It's for and that no worker or Banasoi, or farmers or anyone else of this sort can enter unless summoned by an official. Okay. The place would have an added appeal if there was an arrangement there for the exercise of the older men. So the older men can go meet there and they can exercise and they can have lunch together with their things. And remember, the oldest men would be the priests. Okay, so therefore, like this, it is proper to distinguish this order as well as the basis of age, and to have some of the officials spend time with the younger men and the older with the officials. Okay, so therefore the officials with the younger and the olders with the officials. Okay, so the older ones are again divine matters, the younger are the soldiers, and the middle the officials are the middle. Those are more mature and those are more with prudence and good judgment. Right. Again, he talked about there for being before the eyes of the official, most of all engender a genuine sense of shame and the fear that belongs to free people. In other words, this is interesting. A fear that belongs to free people, a sense of shame and fear that belongs to free people, because otherwise that they're under the eyes of the officials. So the officials, in other words, the officials. This is what temple where that, and the free place is below it, and therefore under the eyes of the officials. And there also where the old men will come or exercise, right, so that they can come and associate with the officials and the free. Okay, and only the free people there. The market for ware should be different from this. So therefore, the market that's selling goods and goods and things should be different from this and have a separate location. That one that is convenient for bringing together both things that are sent from the sea and all the things from the country. So again, where the market is, so it should be close to access to the port, but also access to the farms. Okay, so they should have a separate this market, the wares market, the markets for goods and where the goods and the trade is really done. This market is different from the free market, the market that is free for the free, that is under the in the city next to the temples and the offices or the center of where the messes, where the officials, the leading officials would have their messes, right? Since the multitude of the city is divided into priests, officials, and soldiers, and since common messes have been provided on the sacred ground for officials, it is proper that there should be an arrangement to have common messes for the priests too in the vicinity of the sacred buildings. Now, the text is, he says that this the problem with text, and I assume he assumes in a kana, and rather than the bracketing of the words or reading portenis, the directing element, instead of pathos, the multitude, as of the in other words, he makes some edit choices here. He edits the text. Our Lord edits the text here, and I think he's right to do so in some degree. I think he chooses, I assume, Lucana after Otakas, rather than bracketing the word with Drenzinger, the German editor in the 1970s, or reading the manuscript Proteros and Plethos, right, the multitude. So therefore, this common messes. In other words, he adds that the multitude of the city is divided into the priests, the officials, the soldiers, and soldiers, right? But then also what the common messes have been provided on sacred ground for officials. Okay, that's another point. It is proper that there shall also be, since the officials are with the sacred, provided with the sacred ground for officials, right? That the common messes for the officials are provided with the sacred ground, as he said earlier, right? That paragraph earlier. They should also have common messes for the priests too in the vicinity of the sacred buildings. Those of the official boards that superintend agreements, suits of indictments, summons, and other administrations of the sort, and further, management of the market and so-called management should be stationed near the market or some accessible meeting place. So these things, these lower officials, these boards that deal with superintendent agreements, suits of indictment, summons, other administrative of this sort, and further management of the market, and so-called town management, the arrangement of town, these these boards should be stationed near the market. Which market? The free market? No, I may be at the question is which market? The free market, the first market, or the second market? That's probably it should be. It doesn't specify. I think maybe the second market, right? But maybe the first market as well, right? It could be the first market as well. Um, um, for their, in other words, this one being that is located near necessary market. Okay, I think this is the second market, the necessary market, right? For the upper market, we regard as one of being at leisure, and this one as a view of being necessary activities. So the necessary activity, the market that deals with commerce, trade, and that is the necessary market. The free market is the one at leisure, right? The higher one. The one's higher. This is going to be higher. This is going to be lower. Because remember, the officials are at a peak of their word. Below them, that they're under the eyes of the official in the temples is the free market, and then even there, out or further out, near again adjacent to the port and adjacent the sea, the port of the sea, and the farms, the access to the farms are going to be the market, the necessary markets, the markets that deal with trade and commerce. It's like these other markets. The arrangement just and therefore near these necessary market, there's going to be these officials. These officials will be located. So we have different officials. There's the authoritative officials, the ruling officials, and the officials that deal with these specific matters, right? The arrangement just spoken of ought to be imitated in manners pertaining to the country too, to the country. For there too, with a view to guarding there, must necessarily be guardhouses and common messes for officials. Some call foresters and other field managers, and further, temples must be distributed throughout the country some guards, some for gods and others for heroes. In other words, there's going to be temples all through the city. Some for the gods. You know, we have to separate some. Some gods can't be there, and some gods have to be certain locations. So if gods have to be away from each other and you have to locate them, you spread them out through through. Some are going to be in the urban area, and some are going to be where the country is. And you're gonna have to have some gods, and you're gonna have to have statues. They're heroes. Hero. So remember, every citizen is going to have two plots of land, one in the city and one on the barrier, right? On the barrier, two plots of land, and there's going to be two plots of land, common land, their own properties, right, and the land that is common, and again, those are divided. The people's land, all the way back to the division of land. That the private land is going to be one near the borders, one in the interior, whereas the other one is going to be um, the common land is going to be what? Common land that is suited for uh, the costing of messes, the maintaining the messes, the shared, in other words, common messes, and so that therefore the private individuals are not left. In other words, they can't afford it, like what happened to Sparta. And then the second one is for divine matters, the revenues that are going to generate for divine matters. But it's pointless to spend time at present giving a detailed account of and speaking of such things. So it says, wait a minute. But at this point, it's kind of pointless doing this. Okay, it is not difficult to understand such things, but more so to do them. So there was we can talk. It's in other words, it's more difficult to do these things rather than talk about these things, to understand these things. So these things are pointless at the present because in any detailed manner because it's more about implementing them than about knowing what's necessary, right? Speaking about them is the work of prayer. Having them come about a work of chance. It's interesting. This is the connection between prayer, and chance. Speaking about them is the work of prayer, wishing, right? Wanting, praying for something to happen, right? Whereas them coming about, chance. Notice this chance of luck, something that luck, fortune, something is here. Hence, anything further concerning such things may be dismissed at present. So we're not gonna go any more further detail of this because it's too much. Anything we do here, well, okay, we can pray for it, but bringing it about is going to be. We might have to, it's again chance about based on what the conditions there are, the situation there is, the likely, the reality of the sitting in the situation. In other words, the particularities of the given topography, the settings, the structures, the neighbors, the how the lands are related. All these things are going to have to. These will vary place from place, city to city, of the situation, and therefore there's no one answer to this, right? So therefore, we'll stop here. This is where we stop. If you have any comments and questions, please put them below. I would appreciate them. Comments, questions, and when I see them, I respond to you with them. If you like the video, like it. Please share it. Please share it with other people. If you've already not subscribed, subscribe. Encourage. If you are subscribed, please spread the word. Get others to subscribe. I hope more people watch the channel. If you didn't like a video, just say no. Say why you didn't like it. Please also, if you watched, okay, say why you didn't like it. If you like it, okay. If you watch this now, if you want to follow me on social media, you can follow the links below. Now, if you want to help me continue doing these things, I always need help. It's getting expensive these days, and buying books and things like this is kind of like inflation, man. Life is expensive. So if you want to help, please subscribe to our Patreon. I don't have money. I have nobody doing it. Okay, I'm bad on these things. So if you build it, I will come. Another way you can help is if you want to help me, you can always buy my other books, but this will help more directly. Buy this. This is a notebook for Aristotle's Politics. This is kind of a study guide, a workbook designed to it's like cliff notes on the politics. It gives you kind of a it's both for students introducing politics and those who may be more advanced students. It offers an overview of the politics text and how to understand it. It then goes through book by book, chapter by chapter, with summaries. I raise questions that are relevant and to think about the passage or the sections of text. I then also do outlines, breakthroughs, lists, charts, graphs to help get a better, more complete understanding of the politics text. And I hope people would use it. Now, if you buy it, it's available on Amazon, Lulu, and all online distributors. If you buy it from, I prefer some people go to Lulu, the publisher, because if you buy it by Lulu, I get the what the bookstores get, the profit the bookstores get. Um, Again, this is uh, you know, it's something useful. Encourage a friend if you have no student, or you don't have, if you already have a copy, say something about it. Encourage students to get it who study the politics. It's worth it. I think it's a very useful tool. So again, I hope they will do that. And again, I understand Lulu charges a little more than Amazon places give you free shipping sometimes. So I understand why people might go there. Yeah, I will get something, but I'll get much better. I'll get the profit that Amazon gets if you get Lulu. So that's where you can help. Well, that's it. I will stop here. Next time we look, it will be chapter 13. When we look at chapter 13, we'll stop there. I hope you have a good day. Take care and bye bye.